Well, hello to all my freaks and weirdos living at Saltburn. My name is EJ, and welcome to my channel. We have a lot to dive into in this video. Obviously, we are discussing the new film, Saltburn, but there's a lot to talk about. I already did a movie review over at my channel, Flickering Myth, but in this video, I will be kind of reviewing it, but I will also be looking at the complicated sexuality of this movie. Is it queerbaiting? Is it offensive? Is it even gay at all? The answer is a little bit of yes to all of that. We have a lot to get into. I'm really excited. I really love this movie. I think there's a lot to talk about within Saltburn, just with its sexuality and its weirdness. I already think it's a great movie. So we have that out of the way. Let's talk about this movie and how sexual and how sexy and how unsexy and how weird it all ended up being. Before Saltburn dropped, there was a lot of conversation surrounding this movie. I had no idea what to expect before I actually was able to see it. I had seen allegations against it being kind of offensive, it being queer baiting. It was a lot. What was this movie going to be about? Was it, eat the rich stuff? Is Emerald Fennell even qualified to talk about eating the rich? I was just like, okay, chill out. What am I getting into? But what I really liked about this movie was it was like Emerald Fennell gave us a lesson, a warning against longing, against wanting somebody, against obsession. Because this movie it's weird. I knew we were going to get into Barry Keoghan and Jacob Elordi's friendship, bromance, relationship, but this movie is so much more than that, though that is a huge part of it. I was really interested in the Oliver and Felix dynamic, and I think that's such a solid part of this movie, but it goes beyond that. But I do want to focus on the sexuality of this movie. Where does it fall as a gay man myself? Is this movie gay? Is it just using gayness for it? It's complicated. I will say this movie is definitely a complex, layered film. It's not just one interpretation. You're going to watch it differently than I watched it, and I think that is fair, and I think that's what's awesome about this movie. That's why it's my favorite movie of the year so far, because what it does, the conversations it starts. So for this video, I'm going to be looking at different topics and things that it relates to, how I could break it down, and where I feel it stands in the LGBT pantheon. Is it a queer film? It is. Sorry, it is. I don't know what to tell y'all. This movie well, we'll get into it in one more second, but for me, it feels like a companion piece to Tyler, the Creator's IGOR, an album that was kind of a concept album about him, the IGOR character falling in love with a straight man and what that did and the craziness it made. That's this movie, basically. Like, there's a lot to it. Let's get into it right now. Can't be in a bitch who got no frame. Let the world know cause I ain't got no shame. Come on, smile cause I wanna share last names, I wanna be ya. So to piggyback on what I just said about the Tyler, the Creator, IGOR situation, if you've never heard that album, listen to it. Earthquake, Puppet, New Magic Wand. There's so many songs. I think, oh my god, there's so many songs. And it felt like as I was watching this movie, I was going through the album. Like the first initial love that they had for each other is the early album of the Tyler, the Creator one. And then by the end, by New Magic Wand, where we're letting things go ablaze and we're going heated. That's how it felt near the end of this movie. So that album is Tyler, the Creator, creating this character IGOR, which I don't know if it's based on his real life. I'm not one to speculate on sexuality. I don't care enough. But the album itself is about this man who's in love with somebody else, who is not available, who is just out of reach, but that person keeps luring them in. That's what this movie was giving me. So Oliver Quick is Barry Keoghan's character, who meets Felix and is instantly enamored. I mean, he's like this, 6'6" man with a little bit of an accent and some posh vibe. Of course you're gonna be like enamored by this person and a little bit in love, but Oliver really likes him, and Felix keeps him at like an arm's length. And there's a really interesting conversation here about longing, about wanting that what you can't have, seeing that man at a distance, and it's okay to be like, what if we were together? That's fine, but the layers that this goes through, the steps, and where you take that longing, it says a lot about you as a person, and I don't think the Oliver character was prepared for this, or was he too prepared? We're gonna avoid spoilers. Yeah, you know what? We're gonna get into some spoilers. If you're looking at a video discussing the sexuality of Saltburn, you're gonna get into spoilers. So yeah, we're seeing Oliver definitely in love with him. I know a couple times throughout the movie, he was like, no, I loved him, but I wasn't in love. And I'm like, baby, you drank his bodily fluids out the bathtub. What is that? but love. You know what I mean? Like, what's that other than obsession? So this movie definitely follows that Tyler the Creator album to me so much. That new Magic Wand song, it's one of my favorite Grammy performances. It's one of my favorite songs in like the last 5 to 6 years. It's so amazing, and it's that chaos where you see somebody, and there's a quote in that song that made me think of this movie. You can't be in the picture if there's no frame. That's what this feels like. Like, he sees this other people. He sees, Oliver sees Felix flirting with other women, dealing with the Saltburnness, hearing that, oh, you're just the boy from this summer. Oh, like, how often does he do it? Oh, we'll get into character specific stuff in a second, but that's what I love. And then he sees it and he says, you know what, basically, if I can't have you, nobody will. And that's the vibe Oliver was giving me with his obsession over Felix. Like, you know what? Oh, I can't be in the picture? I can't picture myself in your life? Well, then there's no picture frame. I'm burning it all down. And that's what I loved about this. I love the obsession. Again, is this a positive queer movie? No, this is definitely not the type of gay you want to be. But at the same time, it's realistic. People go through this. As somebody who has been enamored with straight men, who is someone who has had straight best friends where you feel like they're leading you on. Are they leading you on? What's going on? You never know those feelings. And this movie really captured that chaotic mental state so well.
Is everything okay?
Yes. Why?
You seem annoyed about something.
Not annoyed about anything.
Okay.
Touching on what I just mentioned of the straight best friend gay boy combo, I will say Oliver's character is also in a category of chaotic bisexual. Is everyone in this movie just chaotic bisexual? Sexuality seems to be pretty fluid in this movie, which speaks to a lot of the millennial aspect of it, speaks to a lot of just the rich people just doing what rich people do, and that's sometimes hooking up with people with no attachments to it. But I really am interested in what Felix's agenda was in this movie. They keep mentioning of like, oh, you're kind of the boy of the summer. Does he keep finding gay boys to be like obsessed with him just so he can bring them back to Saltburn and they can fawn over him, but he never gives them it? It's a very messed up thing. Like, you think Oliver's crazy for being obsessed with Felix, but Felix keeps throwing him little bits that he keeps biting into, and he's like, oh, can I have some more? Like, he keeps throwing him little crumbs to trail him in, but then cutting him off. But then there's times where I'm like, oh, you're having solo time in the bathtub very loudly with your homeboy in the next room over, and you aren't expecting that? You know what I mean? Like, it's messed up. And I think Felix knows what he's doing. And I think that's what's so funny, because there is straight men who love the attention from gay men, love the attention from anybody, but that specific gay longing, that, oh, I can keep you at an arm's length, I'll flirt with you, but I'll never be with you. It's messed up, and that happens. And I think Oliver dealt with that in this movie. But then he gets to Saltburn and just realizing, oh, I need to play the game. Like, everybody here is playing the game, so I'm going to enter the chess match and play my pieces and move it around. And he played the game. I ended up thinking he got what he wanted. He wanted Oliver, but he wanted Saltburn. He wanted this life so much more. So yes, this movie is about the obsession between, Oliver and Felix, but there is that moment that Oliver just wants a different life, that he wants this life, and what he will do to keep it and maintain it and thrive for it. And oh my God, the layers, the stunt shows, the fact that he got rid of all of the people in Saltburn to end up dancing around that house naked, slay. Icon, legend. Like, I hated Oliver's character because he's an evil person, but at the same time, I'm like, yes, bitch, get it.
Oliver.
Yeah.
Oliver, I love you. I love you. I love you, seriously.
Okay.
Thank you so much, mate.
Sexuality is power. It can also be manipulation. And that's what's interesting about the chaotic bisexual trope in films. I know a lot of people do not like the way bisexual people are depicted, and this movie is one of those depictions. But at the same time, this story is so real. I know people are going to really relate to it. I think there is a subset of people who feel this movie is almost a documentary that has captured a specific period, a specific time, specific type of person very well. So I definitely feel like bisexuality is kind of the overall, like, sexuality of this movie. I feel like, the Oliver character sleeping with whoever he needs to sleep with. Do I feel like it's in service to trying to get Oliver and Felix closer together? Yes, Oliver's doing this so he can get closer to Felix, but he's also doing it for his own sick pleasure. There is a manipulation that comes with sexuality, and I find that to be so scary and so gross, and I find that to be so intriguing, and this movie handled that very well. Do I think bisexual people are going to love them being depicted as chaotic, evil people who are just sleeping with everybody? No, but that's also not what this movie is really saying. It's just particularly this person, Oliver's character, that is that disgusting and that manipulative, but this happens, and I just love what this movie had to say for sexuality. It feels so unique. It feels like this story is something a lot of people will relate to, but this will be unfamiliar for some. Some people will find this completely foreign, and I enjoy that. So I see the allegations against the bisexualness, and I also hear the queer baiting stuff. I don't know, baby. This movie's queer. Like, he humps a grave that Felix is in. That's gay. I'm sorry. I don't care that those Felix and Oliver don't penetrate each other, but baby, he penetrated the grave. That's gay. He drank stuff out of the bathtub. I don't know, baby. That's gay. That's gay. Yes, even if the end goal was to get the whole house, he was gay along the way, or at least bisexual, or at least queer along the way. It's interesting. This movie is definitely. I can't see the queer baiting allegations. It's gay. It's alright. It's explicitly sexual. It's explicitly showing you things that you never thought you would see. And I have to say, I can't stand the queer baiting allegations because it gives me exactly what I needed. Is Saltburn queer? Yes. Is it problematic? Just a little bit, but that's kind of the point of the movie. This movie is definitely a conversation starter. It's definitely not for everyone, but it's very much for me. That's why I wanted to bring it over to my channel and give you a look at the sexuality, the vibes of this movie, where I felt it handled a lot of its characters and its themes, and why it spoke to me so much. So what did you guys think of this video? What do you guys think of Saltburn? Share your thoughts down below, subscribe, thumbs up, all that jazz, and let's talk about this messed up ass movie.